Lekker prentjie, hè?
Prima.
Episode 23, 1 month after our last episode. And we need to apologize, but a lot of stuff happened. And you were moving. You were dealing with some stuff at work. I was chilling.
Yeah, but we are back. Unfortunately, we are not lucky enough to be doing this, all alone or only this. Not, we obviously have full-time jobs and life that goes on. But we are back now, and we want to almost guarantee that we won't be missing in action for so long again. There's a lot we missed.
We guarantee we're gonna try to not miss.
Yeah, we're gonna try.
Miss any episodes.
There's a lot we missed. A lot of good rugby that we wanted to talk about. But I think we sort of back just before the real conversation started. We still have the URC quarterfinals that are coming up next weekend, which we'll discuss in our next episode. Then the semifinals, obviously, and then we got the Springbok games that are starting in June. I think we made it back just in time for the real rugby to start.
Yes, definitely. We did miss a lot. The ending to the pool stages of the URC, and we're sorry that we didn't bring you guys the coverage on all of that, but we are back and hopefully on track again now to continue. So we're not gonna hash out too much of the old things that we missed. We're gonna focus on this weekend's rugby. The finals of the EPCR and the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, so I don't think it'll be a long episode. Obviously, only 2 games to discuss. Next week will probably be back to normal 40 minutes to 1 hour and a half, or depending on how much shit we have to talk about. Let's jump straight into it. The first game was obviously the Challenge Cup finals. I unfortunately did miss that game. I had something that was I was busy with something at the same time at the game. I did watch the highlights. But yeah, I didn't see it going any other way, to be honest with you. Obviously, I did see there were some calls that people were disputing online that the referee got wrong, which every game would be like that. But I didn't expect, honestly, I think from the start, I did say that Bath would probably win this competition if it wasn't, one of the South African teams. And we all know that I ended up with the South African teams. But Bath are in form. It's a very weird competition. You and I were talking about this yesterday. Actually, it's weird that the last Challenger Cup season, it was the Sharks that won it, and they are literally 14th on the log, or were 14th on the log at the time, in the URC. And now Bath wins it, who is top of the log in the Prem. So it's a very, very weird competition, the Challenger Cup. It's top teams and teams that are really obviously not at the top. It's really a free fall. But Joe, well done to Bath. Well done to Johan van Graan and his boys.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, we still had a South African in the final, but we won't play that card. Look, I did watch the match, and it was a masterclass from Bath. And in our previous episodes, when we did the predictions, I still maintained that if it isn't the Bulls that win this competition, it would be Bath. And coming into that, looking at what happened in the match as South, you had Ben Spencer. I think he took man of the match as well. Masterclass at number 9. Masterclass at number 9. Finn Russell, his tactical kicking was so on point. I think he had like 6 or 7 50-22s. He was just keeping Leon in their own half all the time. It was just like Bath was teaching attacking rugby, to Leon, and it was just that Leon was nowhere. And in the beginning, I was like, okay, the scrums were evenly matched and all that. And then when they brought up, the reserves, Niall and Nate, Francois van Wyk and Thomas de Toy, they just massacred whatever Lion was throwing at them.
Yeah.
It was truly horrific. It was the worst scrum performance that I've seen from a French side in a very long time. They were
Yeah.
completely massacred at that. And to be honest with you, I think, looking back at this match, it was just both was just attacking. It was such a good game to watch. At one point I actually started feeling bad for Leon. It was they were just nowhere. That
Yeah.
one or two okay moments, and whatnot. They fly off, try to do some stuff, and it was like nobody else on the field ever trained,
Yeah.
with him, and they just look bad. And Arno Botha, who started at number 8 for Lion,
Yeah.
we spoke about him a couple of episodes ago, was the next big thing coming out of the Bulls, suffered the
Oh.
extremely bad injury. And based on his performance here, he's definitely not putting his name up for any call up to
Yeah.
any international jersey at all at the moment. So well done to Bath, well done to their coaching staff and everything. Bath looked very, very, very polished. And I honestly think that in any final this weekend, I think Bath would have probably walked away as the victors. They really did look that good. I even feel if they were playing in the Champions Cup,
They would have beat UBB.
I think so. I think they would have beat UBB. But we'll get to that just now. Yeah, so overall, if I have to, and just to reiterate on something, we gave Finn Russell a lot of flack during the Six Nations,
I still don't like him.
Yes, no, I understand. It's okay. But he did look very, very good. So I don't know if it's maybe a problem with him on international level. Um, but based on his performance this weekend alone,
Yeah.
he would probably be the best, the best choice for the British and
Yeah.
Irish Lions tour.
But
You
if it
know,
was that good, he probably will get that starting jersey. For the Lions, which in my opinion would actually be very sad. I'm not saying he's a terrible player. At no, he's not a terrible player. He's a good player. I just think sometimes he plays a bit um, too much rugby, if that's the right word of it. He just tries to do too many things, and a lot of times, most of the times, it doesn't work out for him. I think there's a lot of good talent in that British and Irish Lions squad, playing at the same position that I think will probably do a better job. We'll get to the Champions Cup finals now, but I think Finn Russell, not sorry, Finn Russell, Finn Smith, the other Finn, he probably still my guy. For that 10 jersey. I know he didn't have the best performance this weekend, but I still think that I would pick if I was Andy Farrell, I'd still pick Finn Smith over Finn Russell.
yeah, I can see that, and it is like we say, it's not anything against him, but this weekend he played he looked like the old Finn Russell. He did
Yeah.
what he needed to do. His tactical kicking was so brutal. He got the back line away like he should have, and it was just
Mm.
overall, it was just a great performance. And then
Yeah.
backing that up when they in air quotes, their bomb squad came up with Thomas the Toy, Francois van Wyk, who came on, and then Niall and Net that came on. They
Yeah.
they were just so unforgiving, in the
Mm.
scrum situation, that they
Yeah.
didn't. I mean, and Niall Francois van Wyk, sorry, you know, he's also older. He's 33 years of age, 114 kilograms. He had 16 tackles in that game,
Yeah.
and he
Yo.
didn't play the full game.
Yeah.
So um, it is something. It is something to look at. So definitely, I feel that Bath definitely pitched up to outplay, and they did deliver. It was a very entertaining match. It was um,
Yeah.
definitely worthy of the
Yeah.
champions that ended up to be Bath in this scenario.
Mm. Oh, well, then the next game, the big one, the big boy game is the Champions Cup. Look, I thought if you had to ask me 3 days ago, I would have told you that Northampton is going to win this, but just before the game, as the game was leading up, I told my wife, "Hey, I think the Bordeaux Beagles are going to take this." I know that I think in one of our earlier episodes, I did predict the Bordeaux Beagles to win um, um, the Champions Cup, but just because of the performance that the Northampton Saints put up against Leinster, I honestly thought that they actually might stand a chance against the Border Beagles, and they might actually have it. I mean, putting away probably one of the best unions in the world the previous weekend must fuel you to go all the way, But I don't know, I just had a bad feeling that Bordeaux were going to pitch up. Look, they've been in form this whole season. Let's be honest. They have been probably one of the better unions in the Champions Cup this season, and in my opinion, definitely the best team on the field that day. They pitched up. I mean, you had players like Maxime Luku who played brilliant rugby. Damien Penau played brilliantly, and then Matthew Jalibert, I hope I'm saying that correctly, played terrific rugby. I think he had 2 try assists. He had that little one where he passed to the player and he goes around the player and just collects the ball again. Does a long pass and they score. I think that was one of the disallowed tries, but this the one that wasn't disallowed. We just had footwork like a magician, he just had a very, very good game overall for me, Jalibert, and he really, really did. I know Maxime Luku was man of the match, but if it was up to me, I would have probably not that Maxime Luku didn't play good. He played very, very well. I just think Matthew and Jalibert, he really, really did good. The Bordeaux Beagles, they weren't too good of the tee. I know they lost a few conversions. I think they lost 3 of them, or most 3 of them. But the Northampton Saints just felt like they didn't pitch up. I'll be honest with you. There's a few of them that looked okay. The number 6, I forget his name, man. Something Coles. Alex Coles. He looked brilliant for me. I mean, he scored 2 tries. I think it was 2 tries. He scored the first one. That I remember that, where he just powers over and scores. I think that first try was I still said I take my hat off for him for being able to sort of keep control of the ball while sort of maneuvering it around. I think it was Pano's leg and still jotting it down. And then another try, obviously can't remember the details, but other good players like Alex Mitchell, even Finn Smith, I just felt didn't pitch up. In all fairness, the Northampton says lost 2 players very, very early, and I know that you've got something to say about that. And very good players like George Furbank, and I think the other one was James Ram. They lost very, very early. Due to injuries. But Tommy Freeman looked very good for me. And then the 8, man, we literally talk about him every week. Henry Pollock. He didn't look too great for me. I think he had 2 disallowed tries. He had that one where I can't remember who was kicking, but someone kicked the ball long, and then Henry Pollock was marginally in front of the kicker. He chased, and if they didn't pick that up, obviously he was going to score. And then the second one for forward pass. I think it was a forward pass, but it got disallowed. But overall, he just wasn't firing the shots that he usually did. And I think that it might be because the Border Beagles are sort of not targeting him, but maybe getting in his head a bit, and I don't know if it's because he couldn't really just control his emotions and not be able to sort of concentrate on what's what's in front of him. But yeah, I mean, good players have bad games. I'm fairly certain he's going to be wearing the British and Irish Lions shirt in one of the games there, and I'm fairly certain he's going to look very, very good. It just wasn't his day. But yeah, overall, I think the Bordeaux Beagles were the best team on the day. They thoroughly deserved to win. Obviously a few calls from the ref I don't agree with, but which rugby game is not like that, and then obviously a few, for me, a few dirty um, opportunities or things that the French did that I felt was they got away with.
Yeah, so I was waiting for you there to finish your positive points of this match. Look, I'm not gonna bash, but I'm looking at the EPCR final match. You know, referee Holly Davidson, she's become a how can I put, almost a brand name now.
Icon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, she had control of that match. Between Bath and Leon, okay, and she made the calls, she made certain and whatnot. Then we move over to, you know, the Investic Champions Cup officials, okay. You had Nika Ameshukile, and he had Andrew Bryce, Andrea Piardi from Italy, and Marius Jonker. So a very, very, very experienced referee team. Okay.
Yeah.
So early on in the match, there was an injury. The replacements came on and stuff, and then a French player by the name of Romain Burros decided to knee a player in the face. Okay. We watched the footage before the show, and Marius Jonker pretty much about 7 seconds after the incident told the ref that it was a normal incident. He was going for the ball, although the footage clearly does state that, you know, does show you he wasn't going for the ball. You know, this was probably for me a final that could have been so fantastic. You had so many young players, you had so many world class players. You know, we're talking about. LBB was there. You're talking about. You mentioned Matteo Jelliber. You're talking about Panau. You're talking about Luku, who for me is probably better than overrated DuPont. You're looking at the scrums and everything. You're looking at, you know, the starting, you know, scrum off for England, the starting fly off for England. You mentioned Tommy Freeman, and you know, this was supposed to be that match, and it was overshadowed by such shit calls by a experienced referee team. I mean, you cannot possibly make that call without reviewing that footage. You know, we can clearly see that he was not focused on the ball. He was not anywhere near the ball. And even if that player had not been there, he would still not have gotten to the ball on the line he was running, you know. The first try that was scored by the Northampton Saints, as I pointed out to you earlier as well, when we were double checking the footage and stuff before the show, the guy had like what 9-10 movements on his knees. I mean, you can't realistically award that try. Did the guy do a lot to score the try? Yes. Can the knee movement be attributed to some kind of momentum from being pushed from the back by his supporting players? Yes, I suppose you can. For me, overall, the teams that were there both deserved teams. You know, with the amount of ball that Northampton Saints had, to only lose by 8 points, I'll give them credit for that. You know, they're a very young side. We're talking about the new young sensation, and I still feel in the future we're still going to mention him a lot. I mean, Henry Pollock definitely up there. Well, at the moment, looking like he's going to be that number 8 that we're gonna talk about for a bit. You know, Finn Smith, obviously, like you mentioned, had a very, very quiet game. But I mean, you're looking at the French flair then again. Maxime Luku, Matteo Jelliber, LBB, and Pinot, they just tore them apart. Whenever they had a chance, they just tore them apart. Those guys probably made 7,000 kilometers between the four of them.
Yeah.
You know,
he is good. Damien Pinot, you know, he really is a once in a life talent. He is very, very good. You know, is he the best winger in the world? You know,
I think
not, but he is good.
Yeah, to name him the best winger in the world is probably a bit strong. You know, considering I feel that at the moment, you know, you're looking at what wingers are out there. I mean, you're looking at, you've got the Cheslin Colbys, you've got LBB, you've got Damien Pinot. I mean, you can probably look at the Irish wingers that you've got. James Lowe. You go look at the New Zealand wingers. You go look at the Argentinian wingers. You know, there's so many good wingers that you can't really say. You know, you go back to 1995, nobody was even lighting a candle close to John Olomu. So and I mean, you go fast forward to 2007, nobody was really getting close to Brian Habana. I mean, at the moment, if you need to tell me that I need to create a World 23 and I'm only allowed to pick two wingers, it's not going to be a quick and easy task. I mean, and with most of your top 5, I would say actually top 10 nations currently, if you take the two wingers that they've got in their starting lineup, they're world-class wingers. And
100%.
I just feel for as a rugby spectacle, I know the New Zealanders, the New Zealand pundits and stuff has been flacking the competitions that the South African teams have been part of, saying that it's not as brutal and whatnot. I can actually, in my honest opinion, say that all 4 teams that were playing in the two finals today, this weekend, would probably be able to take on any of the teams currently in Super Rugby and probably walk out victorious. But to get back to the Saints and UBB game, it was overshadowed by horrific refereeing decisions. Yellow cards that shouldn't have been yellow cards, that should have probably ended up being penalties.
Penalties that should have been yellow cards.
Penalties that should have been yellow cards. A guy being kneed in the face. We can go on. What is sad for me to say is that the TMO that did make that call is a South African. And because we are passionate about our rugby, Marius Jonker really needs to be very, very disappointed in himself. It was a bullshit call.
How's the square up between Henry Pollock and the UBB players after the game? I don't know if you saw that. Actually looked like he got punched in the throat. I know that Northampton said that they are gonna, obviously, take it up, or they're gonna refer the matter, because apparently a whole bunch of Union Bordeaux players ran up the field. So we only saw the second part of the altercation, didn't see the first part. But according to Finn Smith, a whole bunch of players from the bench ran onto the field after they won, and sort of started harassing Henry Pollock. And he obviously defends to that, and he pushed the one player, another player. I wouldn't call it a punch. I've looked at it; it wasn't really a punch. It was a shove in the throat. But and then everywhere on social media, you see a Union Bordeaux player, doing the pulse check, the celebration that Henry Pollock had when he scored his try. Look, I don't mind it. It's good banter. It's good for the sport, I feel, and I think that Henry Pollock will learn a lot from it. I mean, at the end of the day, he should actually take it as a sort of a compliment, because if he was a shit player and he didn't really, if he was a shit player and he didn't really, matter a lot, everyone wouldn't be mocking him or gunning for him, So he should actually be, sort of looking in a bright side of what's actually happening, and I think that's rugby. I've always said that banter is good for the sport, and I think we need more of it. We can't expect to be friendly with each other today and tomorrow tackle a shit out of each other. It's I won't go as extreme as the UFC, but if you look at the UFC, how they call each other out, we can learn from that. I would like Evan Etzebeth to stand, before playing the Irish or the All Blacks, whatever, and saying, tomorrow we're gonna fuck these guys up, especially that cunt. I think it's good for the sport. So yeah, but anyways, yeah.
Look, I think based on where the match was, and like we mentioned, the guy that started it all was Mamadou Diaby. And
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and looking again at it, overreacting French player is so common in rugby at the moment that it's not even funny. He's got so many matches under his name. Never been an international player. He's always been a club player. He's 34 years old. I mean, really, just sit down. Behave yourself. Attacking a future star, why? Because you're jealous. I don't know why you would do that. And like we said, we don't know what the altercation is. Words are going to be said, and there's always going to be that pushing for something and whatnot. I just think overreacting French players, but there was no overreaction towards the knee in the face again, and towards the other injuries, that took part. I mean, we mentioned Damien Pinot, world class player, but he acted like a sissy when he was barely tackled in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, really, you want to go that? I mean, and we spoke about this especially during the Six Nations. It's definitely we're coming back to that thing. It's a mentality issue in French rugby, and European rugby. I mean, you're looking at there was no issues in the first match. The second match, world class players acting like a bunch of lunatics. He was 2 feet off the ground. The guy was committed in the tackle already. But no jump. Was it deserved of a yellow card probably because you're not allowed to tackle a player in the air. I understand that fully, but Pinot went on like this.
He was milking it.
He went on like this. Guy clotheslined him off a 6-foot fence. It's actually pathetic. If you want to do that, go paint your nails and go sit in a pink Barbie house. And the same with Mamadou Diaby. Really, I mean, who are you? You're not even a French international.
I think Henry Pollock should just take it on the chin and move on.
I think
it's gonna happen.
I think take it.
You'll play against him again next time. Just smash him.
Yeah, I feel learning curve, young player. You already. While we all knew who Henry Pollock was before the final, we had no idea who Mamadou Diaby was. So take it. We can't say take it on the chin, take it on the throat, and move on. World class player.
White noise. You're a brilliant player.
Potential world class player who we can mention. How long in the future still. 34-year-old underachiever. Just rub it off, go and play in the British and Irish Lions tour and have fun.
My final thoughts of this final, though, for me, it wasn't the best game. It wasn't the best spectacle, to be honest with you. And I don't know if it's because I was comparing it to the previous Champions Cup final where we had Leinster against Toulouse, which just kept me on the edge of my seat every time. I mean, there was no point scored in the first 80 minutes in that championship, in that final, and I still regard that as one of the best games I've ever watched. It was just nail-biting, two teams playing at the best of their potential, going at it for full, I think it was 100 minutes almost, just going at it. Whereas this game felt very scrappy at times, and it felt like it was a very stop-start game, especially towards the end. Where it felt like Northampton were going to score, and then someone knocks the ball on, or there's a turnover, and then Union Bordeaux get the ball, and they get a penalty and kick for the line out, but then the Northampton steal the ball, or there's a maul and the ball gets dropped in the maul. It just felt very stop-start at stages, and I'm not saying I'm not taking anything away from the winning team. Well done, Bordeaux, you guys won. I just felt like it wasn't that game. It didn't really live up to the hype of a Champions Cup final. It just felt very, very scrappy at stages.
No, I definitely agree. I think
unpopular opinion.
It's gonna be all our opinions are unpopular. So, it's just how it is. We're not here to bash anybody. It just happens, unfortunately. But I mean, looking at it from the perspective that it is, it was horrific. The officiating was horrific. The better team did win on the day. And I think they were outplayed. And having said that, Northampton Saints being in the final, you've got a lot of young sensational players that's coming through the ranks now. I think we're still going to see a lot of Northampton Saints in the years to come if these players start developing. Talking about Pollock, talking about Finn Smith. There's definitely a lot of future in the franchise.
100%. I'm very excited for the British and Irish Lions,
and that's what they need to focus on. But that's it from me,
guys. Short episode. Next week will be a bit longer. We got a lot more to discuss. Yes. Thank you for not unsubscribing and and forgetting about us in this month sabbatical or break that we took. We are back in full force now, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Sounds good. Cheers, boy.
Cool. Cheers, guys.